Greetings, I am Mutikwa Lerato with the student number of 25223586, and in this video we will be exploring the topic prenatal development under chapter 5 from our textbook named Child Development for Teachers in Southern Africa by Ruth Mampane.
And I'm Lawai Vigana under the student number 2562629, and we're going to teach you about the prenatal development stage. So you must be asking yourself, what is a prenatal development stage? A prenatal development stage, it is a process by which a single fertilized cell develops into a baby from the mother's womb, which simply means it is the beginning of a new life.
Grab your chair and sit down. We will be doing chapter 5. Conception, also called fertilization. It is the beginning of a new life. It happens when a sperm cell from a man joins with an egg cell from a woman to make a single cell called a zygote. During ovulation, the egg is released and moved towards the uterus. If fertilization occurs, the zygote begins to divide and move to the womb. Around day 6 or day 7, the zygote attaches itself to the lining of uterus with the process called implantation. This marks the start of a new development before birth that lasts for about 9 months. Chromosomes, genes, and DNA. As mentioned, a new life begins as a chromosome. A normal human being has 46 chromosomes, which is 23 pairs. 23 chromosomes from a mother and 23 chromosomes from a father. Chromosomes are the rod-shaped structure that are located in the nucleus of a cell. Genes. Chromosomes are made up of segments called genes. Genes are the smallest unit that contains the characteristics of humans. It is mentioned that a gene contains 20,000 to about 25,000 in a cell. DNA, chromosomes, and genes are composed primarily of a molecule called DNA. That is deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid is the chemical basis of heredity, dominance, and recessivity. Dominance and recessivity explains how genes determine different traits. Every person inherits 2 genes from each characteristic, one from a mother and one from a father. When 2 genes are combined and the other one shows in the appearance, that is the phenotype. The other one that does not show on the appearance is the recessive gene, that is the genotype.
We have 3 types of disorders that influences the prenatal development. Number 1, we have the congenital disorder, which is present at birth. Number 2, we have inheritance, which is inherited from both the parents or the relatives. And lastly, we have the conception disorder, which is an error that results during the conception process. Lastly, we have teratogen. Teratogen, it is the environmental factor that influences the unborn baby, with its factors such as genetic vulnerability and time of exposure, and also the degree of intensity that influences the unborn child, with its selective damages that are evident at birth.
Welcome to our first record video of Chapter 5 Prenatal Development. Prenatal development is the process of growth and development from fertilization to birth, which is divided into 3 main stages, namely respectively germinal 0 to 2 weeks, embryonic 3 to 8 weeks, and fetal 9 weeks. Enjoy! Did you know that the embryo contains the unique information that defines me and you as a person? But first, you must be asking yourself what an embryo is. An embryo is the early stage of development of a living organism that forms after the fertilization of an egg by a sperm. Now you know what an embryo is. So let's proceed. But to understand how an embryo came up, we have to go through the conception process first, which takes place 280 days before birth. Conception is the process where human development begins, where a sperm cell from a man joins with an egg cell from a woman to form a single cell called a zygote in the fallopian tube. Here is the picture of an embryo. An embryo is the early stage of human development, surviving from fertilization and the body until the body parts are formed on a baby. In humans, the embryo develops from the fertilized egg called a zygote and continues to develop body structures during the first 8 weeks of pregnancy, and after is called a fetus. It is no longer a baby. Gametes. Gametes are the sex cells that carry genetic information. Male gamete is the sperm cell and female gamete is the egg cell called an ova. When these two join during fertilization, they form a zygote, the first cell of a new human being. Sperm cell, which has a chromosome and other factors that functions to make a baby, and this egg cell called an ova. Ovulation. Ovulation is the process where the eggs travel along a fallopian tube in the direction of the uterus, which takes about 12 hours to reach the middle of the uterus, usually where the egg and the sperm meet. If there is no sperm to fertilize the egg cell breaks down, resulting in menstruation. Here is the diagram showing all the process of evolution. Fertilization takes place between 12 to 36 hours. Once a sperm won the race and penetrated the wall of the ovum, it leaves its tail behind. The process then moments nuclei of the sperm and the new egg cell unite to perform a new cell containing 46 chromosomes, 23 chromosomes from the mother, 23 chromosomes from the father, which makes 23 pairs as a whole, the beginning of a new zygote. Here is the diagram showing the biological life in the womb from when it starts as a zygote to when it is a fetus. Chromosomes, genes, and DNA. Chromosomes, as mentioned, a new life begins as a zygote. Chromosomes are located within the nucleus of almost every cell. They are very small and made up of segments called genes. Each chromosome is made up of many segments called genes. Genes are the smallest unit of hereditary and are responsible for human hereditary. A human cell is estimated to contain between 20,000 and 25,000 genes. DNA, chromosomes, and genes are composed primarily of a complex molecule called DNA deoxyribonucleic acid, which is the chemical basis of heredity. Dominance and recessivity. Dominance and recessivity explain how our genes determine different traits. Every person inherits 2 genes for each characteristic, one from the mother and one from the father. When the 2 genes are different, the dominant gene is the one that shows in a person's appearance, known as the phenotype, while the recessive gene is hidden, known as the genotype. Recessive gene can also be passed to children. Although some traits like eye color are controlled by just 1 or 2 genes, most human characteristics such as intelligence and temperament come from the combined effect of many genes. This process is called polygenic or multifactorial inheritance.
As said, we have 3 disorders. Number 1, which is the congenital disorder that is present at birth, and it can be caused by the genetic or the prenatal environment factors. which 50% from this disorder is caused by unknown and 50% by the genetic factors. Second, we have inheritance disorder, which is inherited from both or one parent, such as hyperactivity disorder or a major depression. These disorders have a strong inherited basis. The environmental factors can provide a fertile ground for these disorders to develop. Third, we have the conception disorder, which results as an error that happens during the conception process. No inherited factors involved, and it could also happen to anyone. Example is a Down syndrome, which is characterized by the typical physical features and usually a low intellectual ability. Teratogen as the prenatal environmental influence, it is any external factor that has a negative effect on the normal development of an unborn child. It contains of two factors. Number one, which is time of exposure. It causes more damage on certain phases of development, usually the embryonic phase, which is about 8 weeks after conception, and it is more vulnerable than the later prenatal phases. The second factor is genetic vulnerability. It is the nature and severity of the abnormalities is dependent on the genetic makeup of both the mother and the child. Some mothers and children are genetically more vulnerable than the others. The degree of intensity of the factor plays a role. The more the mother drinks or smokes, the greater chances of the unborn baby could be harmed. Each teratogen has a different effect on the unborn child. First, the damage is selective, and if the pregnant woman contracts rubella, her baby's limbs will be normal, but the baby could not have a heart, vision, hearing, and intellectual impairments. The damage is not always evident at birth. Psychological problems such as cognitive and behavioral defects may appear only later in the child's life.